JD Vance's story is one of the most remarkable journeys in modern American politics. From growing up in a struggling steel town in Ohio, surrounded by poverty and family struggles, to stepping inside the vice president's official residence in Washington, D.C., his rise has captured the attention of millions. And just like every person's story, the homes he has lived in along the way reveal so much about his path, his challenges, and his ultimate success. Today, we'll take a closer look at J.D. Vance's life through the lens of his homes, from a modest childhood house in Middletown to the prestigious vice president's mansion at One Observatory Circle. Let's start at the very beginning. J.D. Vance was born James David Bowman in 1984 in Middletown, Ohio, a small town once thriving on steel production, but later struggling with economic decline. His childhood home on McKinley Street was a modest, two-story, light blue house with a porch out front. On the surface, it looked like a typical middle-class home, but the reality of life inside those walls was far from easy. Vance grew up amid instability. His mother struggled with addiction, and financial security was never guaranteed. His grandparents, who played a huge role in his upbringing, gave him the stability that kept him on track. Years later, this house would become an important symbol in his best-selling memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, where he reflected on the challenges of growing up in a community that was slowly losing hope. Today, that house has been renovated and is valued at over $220,000. But for Vance, it remains a reminder of where his journey began. The success of Hillbilly Elegy, which was later turned into a Netflix movie, completely transformed Vance's life. Suddenly, the boy from Middletown who once doubted his future was now a national figure. In 2018, J.D. Vance and his wife, USHA, took a big step forward and purchased a breathtaking mansion in Cincinnati's East Walnut Hills neighborhood. This was no ordinary home. The $1.4 million property was a sprawling Gothic Revival-style mansion with over 6,000 square feet, 5 bedrooms, and sweeping views of the Ohio River. Built with striking architectural detail, the home perfectly represented both historical grandeur and modern elegance. Moving into this house was more than just a lifestyle upgrade. It was a clear symbol of Vance's success and transition from a difficult childhood to a place of prominence and influence. But Cincinnati wasn't the only place the Vances were putting down roots. In 2014, long before his political career took off, J.D. and USHA had purchased a townhouse on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. They paid just under $600,000 for the property, which later became a rental home. They rented it out for around $3,700 per month, and even their tenant described them as responsible and attentive landlords. Owning a property on Capitol Hill placed them right in the center of America's political hub, long before J.D. Vance entered national politics. It was a quiet signal that the couple was steadily moving closer to the world of influence and policymaking. Fast forward to 2023, when Vance had already made a name for himself as a U.S. Senator. That year, the family purchased another property, this time in Alexandria, Virginia. The $1.64 million home was located in the neighborhood of Del Rey, a vibrant and progressive area, not exactly aligned with Vance's conservative politics. The move stirred controversy. Some of the neighbors weren't thrilled about the arrival of the conservative senator, and one activist even staged a form of protest by decorating the outside of the home with rainbow-colored yarn and pride flags. This so-called yarn bombing was meant as a statement against Vance's positions on LGBTQ plus issues. For many, it showed the cultural divide between Vance's politics and the community he was moving into. Still, the house itself was a major upgrade, large, modern, and perfectly suited for a family that was spending more time in Washington's orbit. And then came the biggest move of all. In January 2025, following his inauguration as Vice President of the United States, JD Vance and his family stepped into one of the most prestigious and exclusive residences in the nation, the official Vice President's mansion at One Observatory Circle. Unlike the White House, which is constantly under public view, the Vice President's residence offers more privacy and security while still carrying immense historical and political weight. The mansion was built in 1893 and originally served as a residence for the superintendent of the U.S. Naval Observatory. It wasn't until 1974 that Congress designated it as the official home for the Vice President. And since then, every vice president has lived there. The home is massive, about 9,000 square feet with 33 rooms, spread across a 72-acre property. It includes everything from formal entertaining spaces to private family quarters. It is a place designed not just for living, but also for hosting diplomats, political figures, and other high-level guests. Over the years, the house has seen many renovations, ensuring it balances its historical charm with the modern needs of a vice president's family. For JD Vance, moving into One Observatory Circle is the culmination of a journey that few could have imagined when he was a boy in Middletown. From a modest house marked by instability, to a Cincinnati mansion symbolizing success, to a townhouse on Capitol Hill, and a controversial move to Alexandria, every home has told a piece of his story. And now, living in one of the most powerful residences in the country, his journey stands as a symbol of transformation, not just personal, but also political. Vance's homes reflect more than just real estate choices. They reflect the story of his rise. Each one marks a turning point in his life. His childhood home represents struggle and resilience. His Cincinnati mansion represents achievement and social ascent. His Washington properties represent his growing role in politics. And finally, the Vice President's mansion represents national power and prestige. Together, they form a timeline of how far J.D. Vance has come, and perhaps how far he may still go. From McKinley Street in Ohio to One Observatory Circle in Washington, D.C., J.D. Vance's life is a powerful reminder of how beginnings don't define endings. His homes, each so different from the last, tell the story of a man who rose from hardship to the very heart of American power.